Hello everyone and welcome to this video. Now today I am really pleased once again to be joined by Oliver Saunders. How are we doing, Ollie?
I'm good, Ross. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very well, thanks. So today we're going to be doing something which I think the idea was kind of floated in our last video we did on the Beatles, which was that was our top 10 least favorite songs like by the Beatles. But I think one of us maybe mentioned it would be great to maybe talk about like some of like the songs that they covered on like their
Hmm.
albums, just because a lot of these songs don't get a lot of attention kind of thing, and like they are often the kind of songs that I guess like we're both kind of like least like some of like our like least played like Beatles songs tend to be like these covers, and the Beatles did love a cover song, particularly like in like the early
Hmm.
days, like half and like so like the first two albums, and then Hard Day's Night broke the trend, and then Beatles for Sale. All of those are kind of 50-50 originals and then covers, and then they kind of sort of petered out like by like the Help album. So yeah, we're going to be doing our 10 favourite Beatles covers in this like video, or songs that the Beatles sort of covered. It can get a bit confusing, like if like you mean like other artists
Hmm.
covering the Beatles, but that's not what we're talking about. And we're also just doing so we're just including the main studio albums and anything that was on past masters. So no live at the BBC stuff. I hope that's all right with you, Ollie.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep,
I
good, good,
was
good,
just
good, good.
when I was
Just
putting my list together, I thought of all this stuff they've done on the studio albums, they've picked some really weird songs to cover. I
hmm.
can't believe like there's some certain stuff like certain Chuck Berry songs and stuff they didn't cover some of his more well-known stuff, but we'll get into that anyway with the list.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely, yeah. So I don't know. Do you want
Hmm.
to kick us off then? Maybe your number
Yeah,
10.
I can do it. I can reach over to get it. We are diving straight into a song of Beatles for Sale, and it's rock and roll music.
Let me hear some of that rock and roll music any old way.
Originally by Chuck Berry. This song, yeah, I've always liked this one. It's just a great upbeat rock song. I think they do a good job. John Lennon sings it well. I've always thought Beatles for Sale as an album is a step back from A Hard Day's Night. How they've gone from it being all originals to then bringing covers back out, but then the originals on this album are quite of a high standard, I think. But anyway, in terms of the covers and rock and roll music, I think it's a great song. Chuck Berry original is also very good. I was looking before we did this video, and on the studio albums across their whole career, the Beatles only have covered two Chuck Berry songs, which
Oh wow. Mhm.
which really surprised me. I thought there'd be quite a lot. They'd probably who they covered the most, but yeah. I think on their last tour in '66, they opened with rock and roll music as well. I think it's a great opening song for a concert. Yeah, good song. I really like rock and roll music. Number 10 for me,
Yep, great
personally.
choice. Yeah, great choice. Yeah, interesting. You're saying that. Like, being surprised that that's the only one of two Chuck Berry ones. I think the Beatles often did have quite a variety of artists that they
Mm,
chose to cover. So yeah, there was I think was it 24 covers they
something
did
like
like
that.
on like sort of
Yeah.
studio albums, or like sort of like past masters related sort of B-sides tracks and stuff like that. Like so
Yeah.
yeah, I say it's kind of like it's quite interesting. Like there's 24 songs. They I think like the only yeah, like I mean, like Chuck Berry must be one of the most covered artists. Like even though they only did like two of his songs,
Mm,
I think maybe the others
mhm.
maybe like Little Richard possibly. I'm not sure, but
Yeah, yeah.
we might like delve into that. But yeah, it's just quite interesting the
Mm.
breadth of artists that they covered, and this one certainly fits the bill. And it for my number 10. And I know it's a song that you're not keen on because we did. I think this is what kind of sparked the video. Like it came up, like you were not a fan of this. Till There Was You.
There were bells on a hill, but I
I'm
never.
going for
Yeah.
from from Beatles for Sale. So this is it's a musical song, which normally I would hate. I'm no fan of musicals. But for me, I think it's a really nice song. I think Paul sings it really well, and I think again it just shows the breadth of kind of styles that the Beatles like could like cover. Really shows off like their musical like variety. And it's a different track there. So you got like sort of Spanish acoustic guitars, and it really gives it a kind of different texture to a lot of the Beatles songs that got up to this point, which had been in terms of their arrangement very similar. You know, kind of harmonica introduction, then sort of like very kind of like fast paced sort of songs. This track's quite different, I think. Like so, it stands out to me. And yeah, I just rather like the track. So yeah, Till There Was
Mm.
You at number 10 for me.
I don't know
No.
what it is. I've just never liked that song. I couldn't actually tell you what it is I don't like about it. I mean, when I was at school, this was a good 10, 15, well, not 15, 10 years ago now, I would say. I had a friend, and he was showing us some of the music he was listening to, and he had one Beatles song on his phone, and it was "Till There Was You," and I was like,
yeah,
it's very random, and of all the Beatles songs you could pick, why have you picked that? But yeah, I mean, I think it was quite popular in America because I'm pretty sure they did it on Ed Sullivan, either like the first or second show, I think.
they did it on Ed Sullivan, and they did it at the Royal Variety performance before they went to like America. So it was all pretty much a firm live favourite of theirs. But I guess when like, you're doing a live show, you need a kind of ballad, I suppose, to kind of slow the energy down a bit. And probably they didn't really have too many original ballads by that point. So it probably was just out of more necessity than anything. But yeah.
Right, number 9. Number 9, we are going with a song which I think is quite divisive. I see quite a lot of people not like this song, but it's off the Help album. It's the closing track. It's Dizzy Miss Lizzy.
You make me dizzy, Miss Lizzy, the way you rock and roll.
Do you not like it?
No. This is not my least favourite.
Is it? Wow.
Yeah.
Larry Williams originally. I've always really liked this song. Now again, Help, like Beatles for Sale, it is a bit disappointing that there's covers on this album because I think we spoke about it last time, but originally it was all just original compositions on this album. Ringo's song was originally, what's it? If You've Got Trouble.
If You've Got Trouble,
and I think the closing track on this album was originally supposed to be Wait, which obviously ended up on Rubber Soul, but they thought it wasn't like closing track worthy. They needed to be like an upbeat rocker. And Dizzy Miss Lizzy, fits the bill perfectly for me. I just think John sings it brilliantly. I love the guitar on it. I love the live version of it as well on the Hollywood Bowl album. I think they do it really good live. It's a great cover. I really like Dizzy Miss Lizzy. And I think John actually did it live in Toronto in '69 with the Plastic Ono Band. But I can't remember if that's one of the ones he let Yoko ruin by screaming away through it. But I don't think it was that one. But yeah, good song. Like I say, you got to prove the point, Ross, that I think it's maybe a divisive song. There's a lot of people that don't like it. I know that for a fact, but I really like it. I always have done.
Yeah, no, for me, it's just I just don't think it's a great song because I'm kind of judging this kind of two halves against the Beatles' performance of it, but also the original song itself has to be good for me, and I just don't really rate the source material like off that song. And the Beatles' performance, it's okay, but I think George's guitar lines are a bit uninspired. It just doesn't do much for me. I guess everyone's each to their own, I guess.
I've never heard the original of that actually, Larry Williams original.
Again, that's what I did scope out the originals of I think my top my top 10, but as you probably gathered, that's not on it. So I've not actually
you could have told me.
I've not heard that one. Yeah. But anyway, what I have actually heard the original of again just today. My number 9 is from Please Please Me, and it's Chains.
My baby's got me locked up in chains.
I'm going for, which is a real grow up of a song for me. For me, it was always one which it was kind of I didn't expect it to be this high. On my list, but just when you're kind of listening through to all these songs again and kind of trying to come up with your list, this is one that kind of stood out to me. I think it's a really charming little song. It's it's originally by a girl group called Cookies, and it's a really nice track. And George sings it well. It's George's first lead vocal on a Beatles album as well. So I think it stands out for that. And it's just a nice, little pleasant song there for me. Yeah, and I certainly enjoy it. I guess I just feel it's got more of a charm than say something like Dizzy Miss Lizzy or say some of the Beatles for Sale tracks, which just feel a little bit workman-like. Whereas this one, it still has that kind of freshness and that kind of sort of liveliness to it, which I think maybe later covers maybe slightly lost. So no, number 9 for me, Chains.
If we had more than 10, that song would have been on my list at 11. I did consider that one. I agree, it's a really good song, that one. I actually prefer it to the other George vocal on Please Please Me, which is the original Lennon McCartney original Do You Want to Know a Secret?
Really? Okay.
I actually think that's a better song personally, but probably is controversial. Right, number 8. We are once again going the Beatles for Sale, and we're going Kansas City. Hey, 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 hey.
Kansas City, gonna get my baby back home.
This is a medley, which I've got written down here. Originally was Little Willie Littlefield, That was Kansas City, and Hey Hey Hey, that was Little Richard originally. Again, I really like this song. I think Paul sings this really good. He's doing his Little Richard style of vocal, which I think he's very good at. Yeah, I just find this really catchy, this song. I love the backing vocals when John and George are sort of repeating what Paul says. I think it's really good. I don't think they did it live all that often, but they definitely did do it once or twice because there is footage of it, and they did a good job of it. So, yeah, not really that much to say about it other than I enjoy the song, and it's my number 8, personally.
Very good. Yeah, that one, like for me, was my number 11. If we were doing if we had a slightly expanded list, it just missed out on my list there for me. But I'm going to stick with Beatles for Sale now. My number 8 is Words of Love.
Hold me close and tell me how you feel.
Buddy Holly track, which was the only Buddy Holly song that they actually covered, like on like an original studio album. So again, it's kind of showing that. I mean, yeah, but he must be one of their biggest influences, and yet, you know, they only covered one of his songs, like on like a proper album. This one, I think, is a great track to begin with. I think it's a great melody, and the Beatles recording is like really good. You've got some fantastic close-knit harmonies on it. Some great kind of jangly guitar, like on I think George is on his 12-string Rickenbacker, like on this one here. So like. On this one here, so it really gives it a more kind of birdsy kind of feel compared to say like the kind of Buddy Holly like original. But I think it's a really good version, and like yeah, number 8 for me, Words of Love.
That's another song I've never been a massive fan of their cover of.
Okay,
like you say, it's surprising it's the only Buddy Holly song they ever did on a studio album anyway, considering how big of an influence he was. But yeah, it's a song I've never really connected with. Be honest.
Fair enough, yeah.
Anyway, number 7. I am ringing out an EP. It's Long Tall Sally. Little Richard originally, yeah. Again, this is kind of it kind of verges on a little bit of a Beatles classic, this one, because they did it live a lot. Paul, in subsequent years since the Beatles, has also done it live a lot. I think he sings it really well, Paul. He does his Little Richard style of voice again. He's just... You know, I think on a lot of these early covers, the reason why John sings it is because his voice perhaps suited some of the like early 50s rock and roll songs more than the other three's voices. But I think Paul, when it comes to doing Little Richard stuff, his voice is just out of this world. I've always thought Paul is probably the best singer of the 4 of them anyway. And I think he does a great job on here. I think it's a great recording. It's a great song. Yeah, it's just fun. It's fun. It's the last song they ever played live, well, to a paying audience, I suppose, at Candlestick. And there's obviously footage from the early 70s of Paul singing this with Wings, which I love because, you know, I know in the early 70s, one of the things I've always liked about that early Wings stuff, sorry, I'm going down a rabbit hole here, is he obviously didn't do any Beatles stuff, which I quite like. But Long Tall Sally he did do, and I know it's obviously not a Beatles song, but it's kind of the closest you got in that early 70s period to him doing anything that was sort of Beatles, just because he played it with the Beatles. But yeah, it's a good song, Long Tall Sally.
So where's my one now? Number 7. I'm going for another track from Please Please Me. Baby It's You I'm going for.
Many nights go by.
Which is originally done by the Shirelles, and it's a really good song to begin with again. Burt Bacharach wrote the melody, and then I forget who the lyricists were, a guy called on songwriters David, and then another guy called Williams. I don't know who they are, but they must just be hit makers of the day. It's a great song, really shows how kind of again like deep the Beatles influences like ran. It's got a great Lennon vocal on it. I think it's one of Lennon's best early vocals like on them like this track here. Paul and George do some great backing vocals on it, and it's always been a favourite of mine. It's always, unlike a lot of these covers, which I guess I've not included, which they tend to be skippers for me, like on like kind of like Beatles, like if I'm ever listening to a Beatles playlist or all the Beatles songs on shuffle, say, you know, I'm always tempted to skip through some of the covers, but certainly tracks like this and kind of like beyond this now, like on like the list, these are probably always ones at which I will always play through and think, yeah, that's a really good song, a really great recording. And I think you've got George Martin on piano on this one as well. So yeah, really nice song. Yeah, Baby It's You.
Not gonna say anything.
Okay, that was to come.
Right, what are we on? Number 6. Number 6, we are going to With the Beatles, and I am going for the closing track, Money, That's What I Want.
Give me money, what I want, that's what I want.
this song it's a brilliant. It's one of those great early Beatles rock and roll songs. They do a great cover of this. It was originally Barrett Strong. I've got written down here as doing it originally, but I think John's vocals on this, he absolutely shreds it. He's brilliant at it. I think George Martin plays the piano on it. It doesn't stay on here, but I'm pretty sure it's George Martin on the piano. And yeah, it's a great rock and roll song, this, and I think they do a fantastic job of it. So yeah, that's number 6 for me. Money.
Interesting, yeah. I mean, again, I'll be controversial. That's never been one of my favourites for me. You know, I've never particularly cared for the song itself. And the Beatles performance is good. Again, Len's vocals good, but it just feel a little bit like they're trying to repeat the formula, a little bit of twist and shout. You know, ending the album with a very shouty, screamy kind of like Lennon vocal. It just feels a bit like that to me personally. But hey ho. My number 6 I'm going for is from the same album, like with the Beatles, and it's Please Mr. Postman.
Mr. Postman, look and see. Oh yeah.
Which actually was a bit surprised I had on my list, but I just really like this one. Originally done by the Marvelettes, again a US kind of like Motown like girl group, but largely unknown like at like the time, like in like the UK. So like hence I think for a lot of people this is kind of seen as a kind of Beatles original. Like there's quite a few Beatles songs like that, like all like sort of covers which have become almost more famous as Beatles songs rather than the original artist. And this is possibly one of those. Again, for me, Lennon's vocal is what really stands out with this track. Like so many I go off like these songs, he just had a way with doing these old kind of, whether it be Motown or like the kind of like the more sort of like rock and roll stuff, he just had a way of just like sort of like channeling like the songs and sort of putting like his all like sort of like into them. And yeah, apparently also I've got a wee fact here, which I slightly struggled to believe, but apparently like when the Beatles covered this song on a radio session, BBC radio session in 1962, it was the first time that a Motown song had ever been broadcast in the UK on like, BBC radio. Yeah, because that's the time like you never had radio, you never had like sort of like commercial, like sort of like young people's radio, like it was sort of British type. Like apparently this was the first ever Motown song to be played. And it was the Beatles version. It was the Beatles doing it, kind of thing, like in like UK on like radio. But no, like I said, I'm surprised at like how high I have this one. But I just think it's just a fun song, you know, with them with sort of like Paul and George doing like the backing vocals, just a very vibrant kind of recording for me. And yeah, one I do really enjoy. So yeah, Please Mr. Postman at number 6.
Well, funnily enough, Ross, on that note, at number 5. I've got Please Mr. Postman.
There must be some words and days by my girl.
Yeah, basically everything you've just said, I agree with it 100%. To be honest, I'm quite shocked. I didn't know that was the first Motown song ever played.
According to Wikipedia, which has been known to be wrong, but
yeah,
I'm gonna take it.
But I've not really got anything to add, to be honest, other than what you've said. I think it's a great song. I think John sings it brilliantly. Yeah. I can't really follow what you've said there, so that's my number 5 anyway. Please, Mr. Postman.
Fair enough. Right, we're rattling through this today. So yeah, my number 5, a bit like with Please Mr. Postman, like where I said that the Beatles version it becomes more known than the original, becomes a signature version. This is probably one that I think that most applies to, I'd say. So it's a Twist and Shout I'm going for at number 5.
Well, shake it up, baby, now. Shake it up, baby. Twist and shout.
Yeah, for me, I've always thought of as a little tad overrated, like as a song and as a kind of, because it is now, it definitely is the Beatles' most known covered version, and it probably
definitely,
is. Yeah, like, I think most people know this as a Beatles song rather than, I think it was the Isley Brothers who did like the big hit with it before the Beatles kind of like sort of like got a hold of it. Lennon's vocal is the standout signature bit with like this, so you know, like there's like the famous story that he was the end of the 24-hour Please Please Me session, and he 12-hour session I think it was, and it was the end of that. And his vocal was shredded to bits, and he was just pushing it, and it's just a great moment kind of captured like on like tape, like with like this one here. Yeah, I couldn't leave this one out. I think most people would have this a lot higher, probably at number 1 or number 2, but have you not even got this on your list?
I'll let you finish, then I'll say what I've got to say.
Okay, but no, that's all I've got to say. Really, I think it should deserve a place in any list of this nature. But we'll see.
Well, it's not on my list. I don't like the song. It annoys me. Yeah. In fact, if I had to rate Beatles covers, like we were doing all 24, that'd be probably not at the bottom, but it'd be very near the bottom.
Wow.
I just find it. I don't know if it's me trying to be edgy because it's such a
or do you
popular
think
song.
Overexposure, possibly?
Yeah, possibly.
Maybe,
Because there's a few Beatles songs like original songs where I'm like that, where I'm fed up of hearing it because I've heard it too much. You Hey Jude and you Come Togethers and stuff like that. So I don't know if that's maybe the reason, but I don't think it's a great song. Personally, it's a good performance.
It's a good. That's what I'm kind of going on more with that one. As I said, I'm kind of judging it kind of on sort of two halves. It's like for this, it's like the good. It's whether the song itself, the source itself is good, or the Beatles performance. I think in that case, it's the Beatles performance what probably edges it. And I do think I've heard the original version of it. The Beatles tramp over it, it's such a it is the best version of that song going. But like you say, like if just not a fan of like the song. Again, it's not the most profound song like in like the world, but I think it's just fun.
Right, number four, I'm going back once again to With the Beatles, and I'm going for You Really Got a Hold on Me.
I don't like you, but I love
Smokey Robinson and the Miracle originally. This again, it's a slower ballad. I think it's a better slower ballad personally than Till There Was You off this album, but I just think they sing it really well. I think John sings it well. I think the lyrics are great on the original, so they're good on here obviously. I think they play it really well. But something I've always liked about this cover is the version of it they do in the Get Back sessions from '69, which is in the Let It Be film that's just been re-released. I know a lot of people won't like that version of it because it's quite sloppy and it's quite crap, to be honest, a lot of people would argue, but I like it. I think it works really well that way because they sound really tired when they're singing it, and it just sounds like a band that's been so famous for so long. Well, not really that long at that point, but they've been through so much in such a short period of time and they sound tired, and the way they're singing it on that version is just like, it just fits the lyrics perfectly. Like, fame has really got a hold of them and stuff like that. But anyway, in terms of the version on here, this version, they're more youthful on here. They sound younger and more full of energy. And I think they do a good job of it. I don't know, did they do it live all that often?
I don't think there's any. I've certainly never heard a live recording. I don't know if it's on one of the live at the BBC's.
I think it's maybe on the BBC, but I don't think they've ever done it properly in concert, I don't think.
I'd be surprised because the piano's such an important bit of that song.
It is. Imagining is it George Martin playing on it? I don't think it says, does it? George Martin's on the piano on this one, so it's a great song.
No, absolutely. That one is to come on my list at some point, but we'll see where that lands. My number 4, one you've already talked about a little bit, it's Love You Told Sally. Very much just echoing everything you said. It's a barnstorming track. Little Richard original, and McCartney is really much like the next best thing to like Little Richard kind of thing, like when it comes to like kind of like the vocals. Is he definitely his voice was definitely the most suited again, like the Beatles doing like little sort of shouty songs, and I think that really comes through like on like this one here. As you said, it was a live favourite. They performed this one a lot live, and McCartney continued to do so like into like the 70s. Just interesting that they decided just to shove it out like on like this EP, rather than just like sort of like maybe like I think it would have been certainly a good closing track, say on something like Beatles for Sale. Probably certainly better than the one that they chose. Like again, like if we're splattering this list of some of our least favourites, and certainly for me, one of my least favourite covers is Everybody's Trying to Be My Baby. Never like either that song's lyrics or the performance of it. I think it's just a bit. They just sound tired and fed up. But if they'd gone for this as the closer, which was recorded around the same kind of time, I think, it would have like worked a whole lot better. So. Great song, and my number 4.
Number 3, we're going with a song you have already mentioned, Baby It's You, off Please Please Me. 'Cause baby, it's you. Basically, everything you said. I just think it's a really good cover. I think, it's like, it's not the sort of thing you'd expect them to cover, like you said. I think they do a good job of it. I really like John's vocal on this. It's, like you said, it's one of his best early day vocals. I like the way that Paul and George are singing the backing vocals as well, like where they're chanting cheat and stuff like that. I really like John's voice on it, basically, especially when he does the wah-ho-ho and all of that stuff. I just think, it's a great song. I think they play it really well, and not really that much to say other than what you've already said. So, great song, Baby It's You. It's my number 3.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, like, I mean, you definitely picked up there, like, kind of like all like those little vocal bits in it. It just sounds like, they're having a good time recording it. They sound sort of fresh and kind of sort of wanting like success. So it's a great song. My number 3 is, I think, the last cover song the Beatles ever recorded, so it is on the Help album. I'm going for Act Naturally.
All I gotta do is act naturally.
It's also the only Ringo track which is on this list, and I think the only Ringo song that he covered, but I think he did Matchbox on here as well, which
Honey Don't as well. Does he sing
Boys
as
well?
Boys,
sorry.
yes.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot about. So it's not. I scrapped that there. There was quite a few Ringo covers, but anyway, this is definitely the best. I think, like, of like those Ringo covers, because it really suits him, like, as a singer and just as a kind of personality. Like the kind of like the lyrics, like off like the track about kind of like this quite light-hearted about a guy who sort of could make it like in like kind of like the movies, like as a movie star, because he just needs to. And like act naturally, and sort of like because he's so sort of sad, like he can play like sort of like a kind of like a guy, like he feels like that way. So great. It's not the most serious song, but I think it suits Ringo, and it really lets him like sort of shine like as a vocalist. I think he sings it really well. It's just, like just a great example like of like a perfect fit, and I think a much better choice putting this on the album than the original song they had earmarked for Ringo, Trouble, which is not a great Beatles song. It would definitely be one of their worst songs, but I think this works a lot better and was a great choice to kind of like replace it with like at like the last minute.
No, I agree. If I'd had a number 12, that would have been my number 12. But great song. I think it's definitely Ringo's best cover anyway. In fact, I'd say it's one of the best Ringo Beatles songs, to be honest, period. Good tune. Right, number two. This is a song, I don't know if this might raise a few eyebrows, but it was one originally released on here, collection of Beatles oldies, which was Bad Boy. Originally by Larry Williams. Now, I think this cover is probably not one of their most well-known covers. In fact, it might be their least known cover, because it's not like it was on any singles or EPs or anything like that. It was literally just on here originally. I know it's on Past Masters now, but I think it's a really good song. It's just a proper rock and roll in your face song. I love the way John's singing it. Whenever I put this song on, I have to turn the volume all the way up and I love it. I love the lyrics as well, just the stuff about getting to the barber shop and getting that haircut off your head and stuff like that. I just think that's kind of sums the Beatles up as well at the time, with the mop tops and stuff, what people would be saying to them. But I just think it's a great song, and I can't believe it never went on one of the albums, to be honest. Again, I'm Beatles for Sale. I don't know why it didn't go on to Beatles for Sale, although according to this, it was recorded in '65. So I don't know why it didn't go as the closing track on Help. I know I picked Dizzy Miss Lizzie, but I think this would have been a better one. But that would be my number 2, Bad Boy. Like I say, I don't know if that's a controversial choice, especially when I'm technically saying this is better than Twist and Shout, but there we go.
Maybe a little bit, You're certainly a closet Larry Williams fan, because you've got both of his, his contributions, But no, for me, I must be the complete opposite. I just don't rate that song either, to be honest. It very much is like Dizzy Miss Lizzie. They're both very similar songs, and you can kind of almost tell they're the same kind of songwriter, like in like some ways. I just don't particularly like it. But no, it's each to their own, I guess. So my number 2 now, going back to Please Please Me, which I must say on balance, I think is their best selection of covers on an album. I think this, they've got a good mix of rockers, ballads, and this one like fits into that kind of ballad category. I'm going for Anna, Go to Him.
Anna, you come and ask me, girl.
Which is just a gorgeous, gorgeous song, originally done by Arthur Alexander, and it's just a wonderful track. Lennon sings it so soulfully with this great kind of tender and kind of tortured kind of vocal on it. An interesting jump part from Ringo as well. It's got kind of this like kind of syncopated rhythm thing on it, and it just works really well. And then that bridge section, that all of my life I've been searching for a girl, is one of my all-time favorite Beatles moments. Kind of like that Lennon vocal. It's just great. I probably, in hindsight, maybe should have had this like at number 1, I think, but no, it is a great song, and yeah, it's kind of a toss up, I guess, between like my 1 and 2. But yeah, I've gone for number 2. Yeah, Anna, Go to Him.
There we go then. Number 1, is it?
Yep, number 1 time. Number 1 time.
Right, as soon as we decided to do this video, I knew what my number 1 was going to be.
Okay.
It's Anna, Go to Him. Yeah, it's a brilliant. It's basically everything you've said. That bridge is one of the best Beatles moments. I know at the start, and I agree that most Beatles covers I don't really bother with. This one I do. I would actually say this is probably the song I listen to the most off Please Please Me. I definitely, yeah, I do. I know for a fact I do. I think they sing it brilliantly. The Arthur Alexander original, I think that's brilliant as well, because when this album came out, I think for a lot of people in England at least, this will have been, they probably thought this was an original song, because I don't think Arthur Alexander was known in England at the time. I think it was, the only reason the Beatles knew him because it had been imported on a ship or something.
Yeah. And that's the same with a lot of their covers. Like Please Push the Postman, same even with maybe Twist and Shout, these are not hit songs in the UK.
No.
They really went deep with some of these covers,
Yeah, which in some ways, that's maybe a good thing why they didn't cover more well-known stuff, because they kind of were shining a light on lesser-known stuff. But yeah, for me, Anna, it is a brilliant song. I think they do a brilliant job of it. Like you say, Lennon's vocals, they are out of this world. They are hauntingly good. The original, like I say, is brilliant. I can't actually decide if I think it's better than the original or not, this, but I think they're on the same level, to be honest. But yeah, for me, best track on Please Please Me anyway. So yeah, my number 1, Anna, Go to Him.
Excellent, good. Well, I'm glad we agreed about something there, that being a great song. And my number 1, I've kind of already got an idea of what it was. Like You Really Got a Hold on Me.
You've really got a hold on me.
Originally, like I said, Smokey Robinson and The Miracles. So I think it's this combination of beginning with great source material. Smokey Robinson is one of the all-time great artists, and then the Beatles just do this, like this great performance of it. George Martin on the great piano part. And it's a rare example of John and George harmonising, rather than sort of like Paul only comes in on kind of like the chorus. So it feels a little bit like, oh, this is a bit different to what we're used to. When they start singing, and I think it is that combination. Just great source material and a really good Beatles performance of it. So you can't really go wrong with that. Can't say they put their own spin on it too much, because certainly the original is very similar, and is probably I can't really say the Beatles top it, but it is still a great. It is like a great version they do.
Very good choice.
Nice one. Well, I've had a really good time doing that. I thought it would be
I have too.
Good to shine a light on some of these tracks, which I guess often do get maybe a bit lost on some of the Beatles albums, just with the obsession around the kind of Lennon McCartney originals. But I think as we've seen there is at least. I mean, we did have a fair bit of crossover, in our list. There was nothing to. There was no Mr. Moonlights or Honey Don'ts or anything sort of creeping up on our list. But it was. I guess is there any others that you'd say or some of your least favourite covers then?
Mr. Moonlight would be definitely my least favourite. Anyway, definitely the worst. But Everybody's Trying to Be My Baby, I don't like that. What's the other song on the EP again? I can't remember what's on it.
Slow Down. I quite like Slow Down.
I like Slow Down, but Matchbox, I've never really liked. Ringo sings Matchbox, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never really cared for that one, to be honest. But Otherwise, most of the covers I would say are twist and shout for me. But I know that's controversial.
Yeah. So no, we've definitely, I think, yeah, like we shone a light on some of these tracks, and yeah, like we did some great great covers. So yeah, thanks for coming on the channel again, Ollie. Really appreciate
Thank you for having
it.
me.
And yeah, I'm sure we'll see you all next time for the next video at some point. Cheers. Bye bye.
Bye.